Greetings, welcome to earGROUND, New Voices Amplified. And, we've got the gospel program. This is a new show that we just introduced. Why? Because gospel artists are making some of the most amazing music. And today we're not joined by a new voice, but we're joined by a voice that has been singing for so many years. And most of you may have seen him, most of you may be familiar, but this is one artist that I think he has done so much. A lot of artists that have come through the choir that he has been leading, and his name is Hubert Chigumira, but his stage name is Hubert, PSALMIST HUBERT C. I got that right?
Yeah, that's it.
Great, and he's a member of the United Family International Church, UFIC, where he's the leader of the choir. And a couple of years back, he released a 12-track album called Emmanuel, and of that album, there are a couple of tracks that I liked, and this is where I started paying attention to the name. But I've also seen a lot of videos online with him, leading the choir and also singing. Welcome to earGROUND.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Plot. How are you doing?
No, I'm good. It's such an honor to have you on the program. It's a beautiful day, and I'm thinking to myself, you're doing so many things. You're also into business. You're an artist. You're leading the choir. What came first? Like, how did this journey start? Can you take us back to the early years?
What came first? Okay.
Yes.
To be born again. That's the first thing that happened. Before getting into the gospel scene or gospel music, I was born again first. Got born again when I was around 12.
Great.
And the journey in music for me, we've just been connected to music from childhood. My parents were musicians. My father was a choir master.
Oh, wow. So it runs in the family.
Mine, yes.
Great.
Yes, my father was a choir master with AFM in How Mine, and my mother was part of that choir. At home every day would get into music from our childhood. We all are just a musical family. But no one has really taken it professionally or seriously as probably I have.
Yes.
Getting into studio, recording. Everybody else has just been doing it for the passion and just to serve God. And I would say professionally, well, in high school, we did music.
Which school was that?
Well, for my high school, I went to Malipati in Chirezi.
In Chirezi, yeah.
Malipati in Chirezi, I did up to Form 4 there, and then proceeded with my A-levels with Wanezi in Filabusi. Great. And in all those schools, I was the chairman of the Scripture Union there.
Wow.
And I also led various musical groups with other students. And that's where I met a gentleman called Tembani Dube when I was in Wanezi. And I believe he's the first person who took me to the studio. We did a recording of one song.
And do you remember that song?
The song is called Shishunting, is it? Yeah, Choices. It was called Choices. Quite a long time ago. I think it's over 26 years ago.
Wow, that's quite a long time.
Quite a long time ago, yeah. So we did a song called Choices back then. And when I finished my upper six, I moved to Harare and stayed with my brother in Harare. And my brother, who's also a musician, a very good songwriter. Actually, on all my projects, I've actually been doing 2 or 3 of the songs that he writes for me. Great. His name is Shelton. So I moved to Harare. We stayed together, and that's when I started singing with the AFM Harare East Provincial Choir.
Great.
Under the leadership of Lasten Taonezi and William Mataranyika and Pastor Guatizo.
Yes.
And it was during that time when I met Pardon Mutsago.
Oh, Pardon Mutsago, wow. That's great. I mean, he's a living legend.
He's a living legend, that guy. He's a living legend. I met Pardon Mutsago, and he linked me with Pastor G, who happens to be his cousin.
Wow.
and he linked me with Pastor G, and Pastor G really took me to another level. I worked with Pastor G, I think for almost 10 years, working with Pastor G as his backing vocal. Yeah, I worked with Pastor G and Jefferson Sirira and Levi Charamba.
Oh, nice.
Yes, and Levi Charamba back then.
Wow.
So from there, I also worked with Pastor Prince Mafukidze through the links with Pardon as well.
Yes.
We did some tours in Botswana, in Zambia, in South Africa, and quite a number of places. We went together with Pastor Prince and Pastor G. And then through Pastor G, I got in touch with Brian Kagoro, who had introduced African Rhythms of Worship under the leadership of Pastor G.
Wow. Wow.
Then we worked together for years, and then when Pastor G stepped down, I was promoted to be the director of Afro Zimbabwe, together with Rumbidza Isengwayo.
Wow. Related to Freedom Semwayo?
Yeah, she's actually a niece to the late. She's a niece to the late Dr. Sengwayo, yes.
Wow.
And around 2009, when we were under Afro, Brian Kagoro sponsored and signed us under the label of Grey and Blue. So that's when I did my first recording in 2009 as a solo artist. That's when I did my first solo recording, and it was titled Die. Yeah. On that project, it featured songs that we recorded in Kenya with the famous producer in Kenya, who's Ugandan, but based in Kenya, called Robert Kamanzi, or RK, in Kenya. So we did about 4 tracks there. And then back home in Zimbabwe, we did about 6 more tracks with David Sengwayo with Where It's At. We recorded 6 more, and that album made about 10 tracks. It didn't really make much noise, that project, because we didn't push it, we didn't do much, and things just happened, you know, around 2009 in our country. what was happening then? Yeah. Nothing much materialized from that project, but I still have it. And then 2011, well, maybe taking you back a bit, around 2009, that's also when UFIC started.
Yes, yes.
And, I was part of the first members under Prophet Emmanuel Makandiwa. UFI started, and we were there from the first day when UFI started, and he appointed me the worship director then. Wow. In 2009.
Wow.
And then he was appointed me worship director, and from that time until today, I've been under UFIC, and I went to school as a pastor as well, and I'm now also a full-time pastor in UFIC.
Ah, awesome.
Yes, but over the years, I've been leading the choir, and I've also been doing my personal projects, but I've been a bit on the low side on doing my own projects.
Yes.
From around that time, 2011, that's when we started doing recordings with the UFIC choir. And since 2011, with the UFIC choir, we've done, I think it's now 12 projects.
Wow. Wow.
12 recordings. And most of them were live recordings. So there was just one studio recording, yeah. which was titled Possessing the Promises, did 12 tracks. Thereafter, with the UFIC, we've done 11 more, bring them to a total of 12 projects. And all of them have been live projects, which have brought out many hits, like the popular Makanaka Jesu, which featured Maendere. It was actually on our first live recording, that track. Actually, the one that's making the hits on the channels, on YouTube, where you see a big choir wearing blue and yellow. That's
yeah, I know
that project. Wow. You remember that one? Yeah. Wow. It's quite a big song. It's quite a big song. Yeah.
It is.
And we've see quite to have some great names working with us and coming through our our music department. The likes of Minister Michael Maendere, as I've just mentioned.
Yes.
We've got also Worshipper Larry Gunda. We've got Pastor Alex Gunda. We've also got Pastor Trevor Danda, and we've got Tapio Masara. There quite a number. If I mention, I may leave out quite a number.
Yes.
We've actually had to set up our own music label as a church called the Family Music. And under that label, we've got quite a number of artists, though we are not fully functional as a label, so to speak, but we've actually been housing quite a number. And then now coming to the music of the psalmist.
Yes.
The music of the psalmist Hubert Chigu. In 2011, I did my second project, which you mentioned earlier on, titled Emmanuel.
Yes.
Yes. It's a 12-track project, which featured quite a number of own compositions and 2 renditions of hymns. And on those hymns, one of the hymns, that's where I featured my wife there, yes. Alvin.
Yes.
Yes.
That is, it is War With My Soul, right?
Yes. Hymn that it's actually her favorite hymn. I also love it so well. So we ended up just saying, let's do it together. We recorded it together and just did our own version of the song. And thereafter, 2015, I did another project that you'll probably find on iTunes, titled Third Dimension. That was my 3rd project.
Great.
Third Dimension, yeah. I did that one with, actually the previous one, Emmanuel, I did it with David Sengwayo, the whole project at
Awesome.
Studios.
You know, I'm looking at your journey, and I'm looking at so many of the highlights and the iconic artists that you have worked with. You know, what would you say are some of the biggest lessons from working with the likes of Pastor G, Pastor Chris Mafukidze, and all the artists that you've worked with before? Like, what are some of those things that you'd say, I have become, you know, a great artist that I am today because of some of these lessons working with these artists?
In life, God takes you through some stages of life so that you learn. And if you do not learn from those experiences in life, it means you will not do much in life, and you may not achieve much. What I would say is, with my encounters with all the great names I've mentioned in my path and in my journey, I've learned humility. I've learned servanthood. I've learned the grace of seeking God. If you're serving God, and especially when you're doing gospel music like we are doing, it's a lifestyle that has to be the first thing you value. Those are some of the things I've learned in my journey with the men and great men and women I've worked with. Serving God means you have to choose a lifestyle of servanthood, a lifestyle of purity and holiness. That's what I've learned. And mostly in my journey, my major highlight, I would say my major highlight of working with great people has been my encounter with Prophet Emmanuel Makandiwa, who's actually one of the greatest men of our time.
You can say that again.
The lessons that I learned about life, family, how important family is in your ministry, and that's what keeps you going. Family first, after God, family first, and then everything else falls into line. As long as you've got a purpose to help others and to make others happy in life, God will always provide, and God will always make it easy.
Well, that is profound, because you speak there that it's beyond the music. It's actually you as an artist, your lifestyle has to also be part of that message that you serve and live, you know, which I think is very commendable, because a lot of the times, looking at the stereotypes that artists used to get in general, they were always to do with their lifestyle beyond like their music, and looking at what you have done and what you've achieved. And one thing that I think really moved me, it's your humility, looking at all these accomplishments, and you're leading possibly one of the biggest choirs in the country, and doing major things, performing before thousands, weekly, and so often. But you remain calm, collected, grounded. What do you attribute that to?
Well, I would attribute that to the lessons of life that I've learned along the way and in the journey. Knowing that it's not about me, it's never about me, it's never been about me. It's always been about Christ, because Christ is at the center of all of this. He's the one who's called us into this, and we're doing it for him. So that's what has just kept me going, knowing that I'm not doing this for myself, but I'm doing this for my Lord. And that has really kept me going.
You're working on a project. What are we expecting? Yes. This year you're planning to release some material. What can we expect? What is coming our way?
Okay. At the moment, we're working on a project, and we're almost done. We've done the recordings for it. We've titled it Deeper, or the Deeper Experience series. And this project it's a live recording which we did on the 8th of February, and it's got 11 tracks and 4 new tracks. Yeah. And redos of some of our popular songs that we did in the past. And if you've probably noticed, as a solo artist, I have never done even a single video before as a solo artist. Every other video that you've seen online and have been posted even on our pages, yes, we did that with the UFIC choir mostly, or featuring on other people's projects. But I had never done a video before. And we're still even a live recording. This is like our first live recording project. So we did an 11-track project with 4 new songs and 7 renditions of our popular songs. And we're actually expecting to drop a single from that project on the 8th of March. We're expecting to premiere our first track there.
Great.
And then if everything goes well, we'll premiere it on that day. But we're still working on it. We're actually doing post-productions now as I'm speaking with you. We're actually working on studio post-production now.
Great. So by the end of this year, would you have managed to experience the whole 11-track project?
Definitely we'll have managed to experience the whole project. And we're looking forward to be doing quite a lot this year. And we're actually being aggressive this year. I've never been this aggressive in my music. In the past, I've actually been doing music for passion and just for fun. But after having a chat with my father, Prophet Emmanuel on
yes,
how serious I should take this thing now, he indicated to me, actually, when we met in 2008, he indicated this to me, that my purpose for living is music and serving God in song. In as much as I'm also a pastor, yes, who can preach the word, but my main line is the music. And it seems like the past 6 to 7 years, I'd almost like quit. Actually, let me say I'd retired. I'd given myself an early retirement, because I was really getting frustrated by quite a number of things in the field, in the industry, and it wasn't just interesting anymore to do it. And 2021, I had a chat with my father, and then he reminded me of my purpose. And he said, son, remember what I told you about your calling. So if you quit and if you just go quiet, what does that mean about your living? Why should you then be on earth if you're no longer pursuing the reason why you're here? And it really struck me. And that's when I started working on the projects. And he indicated that you now need to start working on giving us new things, new music, new songs, work on it. So it really gave me the edge and the impetus to pursue.
Wow.
I've got the energy now, the strength to come back and take it up. And so this year, we've actually been very noisy. Even if you visit our pages, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, we've actually been making a bit of noise from the beginning of this year. And I believe this is the new Psalmist, and it's a relaunch of a career that was almost winding down.
Wow, that is encouraging. I also feel encouraged there because there are so many times in our careers that we feel like, oh, maybe I need to do something else, I need to give up. But when you see renewal like that, you also get the same kind of encouragement. But in terms of the kind of sound, I look at the artists that you've worked with and that you work with, you know, some amazing artists like Mark Mazinga and, you know, Piroro and so on. And I look at the detail that gospel musicians in general in Zimbabwe put into their work. You know, you're talking about post-production because without like discrediting, but it's for other genres, you can actually record a song, release it on the same day, you know, and the time that you're taking to produce, the effort that goes in there, the amount of hands that are involved in the production. And then when I look at live show performances, even the live DVDs, the live concerts, for me, I see an industry from a creative perspective. I see how gospel music is possibly one of the most solid creative sort of industries in Zimbabwe.
To bring out a good product, you really have to put in a lot of work into it. And those are some of the things you find, especially in Zimbabwe, when you look at gospel music.
Yes.
It doesn't really get as much support as other genres, in as much as you've just indicated. For gospel music, we need to put so much to bring out a good product. And there's really all genres of music, of course, people work on these things like post-production and all, but it seems like there is always a hand behind non-gospel music, like secular music. Corporates, it's easy for corporates to come in and to fund these things. That's why it seems like it's easy. But when it comes to gospel, it's really hard to get sponsors to come through, partners and corporates to really come in. It's only now that we're seeing it happen, where we now have quite a number of companies owned by Christians who would also want to. We've had quite a number of partners coming in, but you know, it's not easy because it's really expensive to bring out a good product. I'll be honest with you. It's not cheap. It's not easy. It's not easy. I would say that. I would not say it's hard. I would not say it's complicated, but it's not easy.
It's actually an interesting perspective. You've actually flipped my long time held perception about gospel music. All along, I've been of the opinion that gospel music is the most funded, the most supported music genre in the country. You know, because when I look at the concerts, when I look at the turnout, I was just following the concert by Sinach and the artists that are performing there, and the kind of reception and the support that people were giving towards this concert and the attendance and the organization and the level of creativity. And I thought to myself, this genre has all it set, you know, but it's interesting because you bring out the perspective that now we start to see big corporates coming in that are run by, you know, believers that are putting support towards, you know, the development of gospel music, which is quite encouraging. I was telling somebody that I think one of the biggest music festivals in the country right now is the festival that happens in Rwanda. You know, I follow that religiously because I look at the investment for days setting up, hosting the festival, bring artists and having local artists also performing at an equal platform, which I think for me is very encouraging to see that development. And thank you so much for highlighting forward. Is there anyone that, apart from your wife and your brother, who's also into music?
Well, I've got 4 boys. All of them are musically inclined. They're
Nice.
all musicians.
Mhm.
But you know, you cannot force them to be musicians like we've become. We can only let them be who God has called them to be.
Yes.
They will only learn what we are doing, and we can guide them if they want to get into music full time. We can always guide them. And my firstborn is now in Form 2, and my secondborn is in Grade 5, and my thirdborn is in Grade 3, and my lastborn is in Grade 1.
Wow, great.
So far, I wouldn't say there's anyone else who's doing music. But apart from that, I've actually been training and grooming other youngsters over the years. I've been mentoring Ezekiel Paul. Maybe you've come across his music. He's one of my mentees, yeah. And I would say I've been with that young boy for like over 10 years now.
Wow.
We've been working together. If you listen to his music, you can actually feel me in his sound.
Wow.
And I've also been mentoring another young man as well called Reward Chauke. He's now based in Joburg. If you listen to their music, you can tell I've been working with them for some time.
Right.
So I think we're passing on the baton. We're not young anymore. We're actually growing old. I turned 40 last year.
Great.
and we have to leave the baton with other people to carry on with the legacy. We will just continue to run our track. In music, you don't retire. I've realized that in music, you don't really retire. You can just go quiet, but you don't retire, because as long as you still have got a voice, God is still giving you revelations, giving you songs. You may stop standing in front of people singing, but you can still continue doing music, writing songs for others, and even coaching others. You don't get out of music completely.
Great. Before we close off, what is the main message that you are preaching to the world through your music?
Well, I've discovered that my main line of message in my music is it's about faith, trusting in God, and prayer. That's my main line. Faith, trusting in God, and prayer. And you notice that most of my songs are prayer songs.
Yes.
Most of my songs are really prayer songs. If you listen to one of my songs, or most of my popular songs, they're songs that lead you to pray, or that people use for prayer, or that's a kind of line that God has called me to, leading people into prayer and into the presence of God. That's my main line. That's my main message in my music. So I would actually say to our fans and everybody who follows our ministry in music, get ready for Deeper. Yes. Deeper it's a project that's really going to take you deeper into the presence of God, and it's going to make you get closer to God and closer to God into His presence in prayer.
Wow. Where do they follow you? How can people that love your music, that would want to follow you, find you? What are your social media handles?
Those that follow our music and our fans, you can even follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and on all those platforms, you'll find us at PSALMIST HUBERT C. PSALMIST HUBERT C. PSALMIST HUBERT C. If you just search for PSALMIST HUBERT C, you find our music there. And you can also even buy our music online on iTunes, Google Store, and Amazon, and Spotify. You can find our music there. And so far, the project that's been active there was our last project, which is the Third Dimension. You get some good music there, yeah.
Well, it's been awesome. I wanted to continue talking to you. So much wisdom, so much knowledge that I've actually gained today from just this conversation. Like you said, I mean, I think at most times we're not giving gospel music and gospel artists the same kind of platform, because some of the talent that is out there, amazing talent, doesn't get the same space. And I think I feel encouraged to have had this conversation because it sort of enlightened me on so many things, but also just to be able to speak to you and see the journey that you're traveling from leading a choir, and now you're going to be making also a lot of your own music, which is a great thing. Thank you so much, Psalmist.
Thank you so much, Plot. Thank you for having me and for giving us the opportunity to reach out to the world. And may God continue to bless and take you far.
I receive it. Wow, thank you so much. It's been awesome. I've been speaking there to Psalmist Hubert C. You can find him on YouTube, on Spotify, on all the online stores, and to find his music. He's a musical director. He's an artist who is heading the UFIC choir, and he's also a musician in his own right. He's got a project, Deeper, that is coming out later this year, but expect a single around the 8th of March. And more that is coming in, even visuals that he has promised us. So until next time, remember, keep your ear on the ground for some of the latest news and information and conversations with creatives, amazing creatives from the continent. I'm out.
earGROUND, new voices amplified. earGROUND. earGROUND. Keep your ears on the ground.